First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
I'm sure your garden, your lawn, your posies, flowers, whatever you got outside, if you haven't been watering them, they're probably starting to shrivel up and to wilt a little bit, getting pretty dry out there. But we have some beneficial rainfall here this evening, and even a few thunderstorms making their way across the First Coast. So a lot of this originated further off to the west, out towards the Gulf Coast, and it's all gradually drifting off to the east and even a little bit more of a northeasterly direction here now this evening. So all of this is going to be pushing closer to the I-95 corridor and the Jacksonville Metro over the next several hours. So let's zoom in. You can see it right there on the south sides of the metro. So just to the southwest of Oakleaf, north of Middleburg, there is an isolated thunderstorm rolling through right there. So that's about to pretty much hit the west or southwest side of the 295 Beltway. That storm is what will likely either come right over downtown or just to the west of the downtown area. So for you folks over in Avondale, Riverside, Murray Hill even, we'll watch for that thunderstorm to make its way towards you. Otherwise, things relatively quiet around the downtown area for the time being. A little bit further off to the north, up towards Callahan and even Hilliard, a little bit more shower and thunderstorm activity. Again, pretty small and isolated. These are somewhat shallow storms, but there's a live look out of Hilliard there in Nassau County, and you can see, those clouds kind of rolling on in, but nothing too ominous looking there, at least for the time being. So we're going to keep close eyes on all of the storms as they kind of continue to just meander around here on the First Coast and just slowly and gradually drift off to the northeast. So now down further south a little bit from the metro area and to St. Johns County, you can see this storm actually building along a little bit of an outflow boundary and also surging closer to where the St. Johns River is, kind of feeding off the very, very warm river waters right now. So that's why you're starting to see a little bit of uptick in that thunderstorm just to the north of the Hastings area there in southern St. Johns County. But if you live in Butler Beach, St. Augustine, and even as far north as World Golf Village in St. Johns County, you're likely going to see some thunderstorms roll through here within about the next 30 to 60 minutes for you folks in St. Johns County. This was the strongest looking storm. That storm core has come down a little bit. It was in the kind of yellow shaded color, showing how much moisture and strength that updraft still has come down a little bit, but we're going to monitor it. Sometimes these storms can kind of pulse up and strengthen for a little bit. They'll rain themselves out and then re-strengthen again. And that's kind of the trend that we're expecting here through the rest of your Friday night. Some pulse thunderstorms continuing to develop. Fairly isolated spots as they make their way across the First Coast. Lake City also having a thunderstorm that's pretty much just ringing itself out there now. So over the past 30 minutes, it went from very, very heavy rain and a lot of lightning to now just some lighter showers making its way through central Columbia County out there on I-10. But we're going to see a lot more of this action as we head into your weekend. Weather impact alerts in effect for Saturday and Sunday afternoons between 2 and 8 p.m. We've talked about this here on our 4 o'clock stream the last several days, expecting at least scattered, if not numerous, even widespread thunderstorms at times, potentially both days, some of which could be on the strong to severe side. We'll talk about the risks and what some of those may pose to your outdoor plans this coming weekend, especially if you have tickets to the Jumbo Shrimp over at ViStar Ballpark. Temperatures both days going to be quite warm. It's going to be very muggy. Saturday's first pitch is at 6:35, so mid-80s for you folks. If you're going to the Sunday game in the middle of the afternoon, it is going to be very steamy out there, and both days will have the potential for either a delay or, even a rainout. Hopefully that is not the case, but there are going to be some thunderstorms around in the forecast. So let's break it down for your Saturday. Tomorrow, first half of the day, you're going to be dry. It's going to be another warm one. I got a rec soccer game, actually, with our sports reporter, Ashley Gonzalez, at 10:15 downtown. We're going to be sweating pretty good out there. Mid-80s already. Real field temperatures up to about 90 degrees by mid-morning. Afternoon highs then in the low 90s for many of us. Or low to mid-90s, I should say. I think areas west of I-95 could certainly hit the mid-90s with real field temperatures pushing close to that 100-degree mark. But it really will be after about 2 o'clock that we're going to watch for those thunderstorms to roll in from the west and kind of spread their way eastward throughout the afternoon and then into the evening hours as well. So that dark shaded area, that is the best chance to see some of those thunderstorms and rain showers tomorrow. You'll notice pretty much from Folkston up to Waycross, so the northern part of the Okefenokee, has probably the lowest chance. So nearly everyone from Gainesville and Lake City over to Jacksonville and the entirety of that I-95 corridor have a very, very good chance of seeing some thunderstorms at some point throughout the day tomorrow. So this is really what we're looking at. We're expecting some late morning to early afternoon convection just to the west of I-95, and models are trying to depict that here. So out towards Lake City, Alachua County, Marion County even, we expect some thunderstorms to initially ignite some pop-up storms around the metro by the early afternoon. As the afternoon wears on a little bit, you get 3, 4, 5 p.m. then, all of that rain and energy and activity begins to spread further to the east and northeast. So by 4, 5, 6 o'clock, the stronger thunderstorms are going to start to make their way closer to I-95 and the Jacksonville area. So if you're planning on heading out to the beach tomorrow, you will likely be okay, I would say, until probably about 3 o'clock. If you're out at the beach, if you're going shopping somewhere, and you just have any outdoor plans tomorrow afternoon, you're probably good until about 2 or 3. After that, then those storms from the west are going to be making their way toward the East Coast and the Atlantic coast here, in the Jacksonville area. So that will then continue through dinner time tomorrow evening. And thanks to the upper level flow generally coming out of the west-southwest, it's going to help to steer those storms eventually offshore by sunset. So if you have, evening plans, maybe, you're taking your sweetheart out for a nice little night out on the town, getting some late night drinks with friends or something like that, you should be okay. The rooftop, bars and hot spots around town are looking okay for your Saturday evening. Most of the storm chances are going to be just before sunset. So that's why we have that weather impact alert from 2 until 8 p.m. Tomorrow afternoon. But as I've really tried to reiterate the last couple of days, ample moisture is going to be in place, not only at the surface with very high dew points, but also in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. Plenty of moisture up there as well. So the storms that do come through are going to bring some very, very heavy rainfall rates. Frequent lightning going to be a concern, and wind gusts as well. Now, most of the storms, you're not going to see, severe weather, but there is the potential for some isolated strong to severe storms, primarily for wind gusts upwards of about 40 to 60 miles per hour. So we will, keep a watchful eye on that. But again, all of these storms are generally going to spread from the west to the east throughout the day on Saturday. So that's really just going to steer eastward, that Gulf Coast sea breeze, much further toward the, the East Coast and I-95 than it has the last several days. We've been stuck in a very strong easterly flow. That's helped to keep us dry and has kept all the storms over towards the Gulf Coast. We're now going to flip that, and the Gulf Coast sea breeze is now going to pin pretty much all the thunderstorm activity right around the I-95 corridor in Jacksonville for the large portion of not only this weekend, but even as we head into next week. Now, there is just one little change or difference between Saturday and Sunday. This is the steering flow, anywhere from about 1,000 to 10,000 feet aloft in the atmosphere. You saw it there on Saturday, pretty much out of the southwest to the East Coast. On Sunday, is there still some steering flow? Yes, a little bit, but not a lot. The overall wind pattern aloft in the atmosphere is going to be a decent amount weaker, quite a bit weaker. So because of that, the storms that do develop on Sunday aren't going to push offshore as quickly as we're expecting on Saturday. What that means for you is that if you do happen to see a thunderstorm, it's not going to be one of those instances where you're like, okay, we can just sit back and wait, 15 or 30 minutes and it'll rain itself off and, move off to the east and offshore, and then we'll be good. some of these might really just linger around a little bit and stay pretty stagnant. There's not going to be a large west to east coast movement of some of the thunderstorms on Sunday. So because of that, if those very slow moving storms kind of set up shop over one location, you're getting heavy rainfall rates, localized flooding and street flooding and ponding on the roadways especially will be a concern. So that's going to be a little bit more of an issue on Sunday rather than Saturday, where we are expecting those storms to move offshore by 8. On Sunday, they could linger well into the evening hours, depending on where they set up. So keys here for the weekend. Up until lunchtime and even into the early afternoon around Jacksonville, you'll be okay. After 2 o'clock, just be on guard. Keep an eye to the sky. Download the First Coast News app if you can. You'll get any push alerts if we have any severe thunderstorm warnings issued. And of course, we'll be streaming live here on First Coast News Plus, and on YouTube, Facebook, things of that nature, if we are really starting to get some stronger storms to develop. So meteorologist Robert Spede, he'll be here on Saturday morning to kind of update you. And then Chief Meteorologist Lewis Turner will be in on both Saturday and Sunday afternoon and evenings to keep you safe and keep you prepared there in case there are some big storms that might be impacting your outdoor plans or your weekend plans out there across the First Coast. But as I kind of alluded to earlier, this stormy pattern that we're getting this weekend, it's expected to continue then into next week. You notice Monday, still temperatures in the low 90s, yes, but still some scattered thunderstorms around, and that trend is really expected to continue through the end of next week as we head towards the 4th of July. So we'll touch on that once we get to the 7-day. But first, let's switch it up here a little bit. We've kind of talked about the weekend. Let's talk a little bit about the tropics. This came out last evening. Invest that they are watching down in the Western Caribbean and is now almost situated right over the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. It has a low chance of formation, not only within the next 48 hours, but within the next 7 days. So I believe there's a 20% chance of formation in the next 2 days, but there is a 30% chance of formation over the next 7 days. So you can see where that is situated there. Here is the infrared satellite imagery look at that really just kind of disorganized cluster of thunderstorms. So plenty of convection and storm activity, some pretty heavy rainfall headed inland there near Honduras, and then again out towards Cancun and the Yucatan. But we are not concerned about this for the First Coast specifically. We are not going to see any impacts from this, but for folks who live on the coastal portions of Mexico there in the Gulf and also South Texas, you could see some moisture and minimal impacts from this, tropical wave or that is, kind of spinning or swirling its way around the Yucatan there. Still very, very warm waters. Sea surface temperatures in the mid 80s in this region, even warmer in the northern Gulf. So things are certainly heating up. But you look, how much warmer are they than average? Well, for the vast majority of the Caribbean and the Gulf, temperatures are above normal or above average for this time of the year. There are some splotches of blue where it's slightly cooler, but the vast majority of the Caribbean and Gulf are much warmer. Let's take it a step further, though. So that's just the temperature at the surface, the sea surface temperatures. We want to show you the deep warm water, the extent of the ocean heat content. So how deep in the ocean does that actual heat, go down? And you'll notice the Gulf itself pretty, still pretty cold, below the surface. Whereas in the Caribbean, places like Jamaica, southern Cuba, and then down towards the Yucatan, there's a pretty deep layer of warm water, so high ocean heat content within the the entire kind of layer of the ocean down there in the Western Caribbean that is kind of fueling some of those thunderstorms. So because of that warmer ocean temperatures at the surface and also just deeper within the ocean, that's going to give fuel to not only this storm, but also any potential other storms that might develop. Now, there are some things that are going to keep this storm having a low chance of formation, one of which is going to be the wind shear, as I'm showing you here, especially in the upper levels coming out of the northwest. So wind shear obviously not going to be conducive for tropical storm or any sort of tropical development. So decent amount of wind shear is going to really inhibit that storm from potentially forming. Also, a lot of Saharan dust over the eastern portion of the Gulf. So Cuba, the Bahamas, and a large portion of the Florida Peninsula getting this nice big plume of Saharan dust, very dry air in place. So that's also really going to shield the storm from, coming toward Florida or the first coast at all. It's really just going to help to push it over towards Mexico, where there's slightly moister air and not nearly as dry. And we got more plumes of Saharan dust on the way as you head into next week as well. So that's also going to inhibit any sort of tropical formation or development from this wave making its way across the Bay of Campeche then by Saturday night into early Sunday morning. You can see the moisture and some of the rainfall impacting places like Brownsville and Corpus Christi. And again, the eastern coast of Mexico there. So some beneficial rainfall potentially for South Texas, but otherwise we are not too concerned about that little tropical wave that the National Hurricane Center is watching. But we'll continue to keep you updated on that. Otherwise, to the 7-day forecast, the stormy weather pattern expected to continue into next week. Temperatures remain steady in the low to mid-90s. And then, of course, this time next week, you're probably getting ready to celebrate and even party a little bit. Fireworks going to be happening next Friday for the 4th of July, Independence Day. There will be the chance for some thunderstorms, but at least for the time being, we're keeping that potential at about a 40% chance for some storms. If I had to pick 2 days next week for the best chance of storms, I would say Wednesday and Thursday look to potentially see some scattered, if not widespread thunderstorms. So if you haven't gotten much rain in the past week or even the past 2 to 3 weeks, don't worry. It's coming here very, very soon. Make sure you stay weather aware this weekend. If you have any outdoor plans, we'll try to keep you updated on the latest, forecast information here at First Coast News and right here on First Coast News Plus. But for the time being, I'm meteorologist Ross Mummah. Enjoy your Friday night and enjoy your weekend out there, folks. Take care.